Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this presentation that is being hosted by the Solidarity Center, the American Labor Movement's international organization. My name is Tim Ryan. I'm the Asia Director for the Solidarity Center. And would like to thank very much the organizers of the program, the Asia Democracy Network, the Institute of Social Sciences, and the World Movement for Democracy. Our first panel this afternoon, we have some very distinguished guests here, and really in the spirit of George Fernandes, we would really like to talk about the intersection of economic and social rights and justice with democracy and political justice. So this is a panel that will focus very much on the issues facing workers, especially marginalized workers around the world, but in particular in Asia. We will focus on the promotion of the rights of the most marginalized workers, child labor, bonded labor, domestic and migrant workers, and workers in the informal economy, to include them in the development of a democratic polity. The most vulnerable workers often regularly are denied basic civil, human, and labor rights and excluded from the democratic processes in their communities. Promoting their rights empowers these workers to more fully participate in a democratic culture and helps spur international democratic practices and traditions as they build their own self-governing organizations. I want to just set the stage here for just a couple of minutes and give you some statistics or some perspective on the issue facing these workers in Asia. We're talking about various types of workers, but we're also talking about looking at how they interact and overlap and are often part of the same groups together: migrants, forced and bonded labor, child labor, and those workers in the informal economy, unprotected by labor law. Now, most of the statistics I'm going to give come from the International Labor Organization, the UN, and the Asian Development Bank, but they're official figures only, and the numbers are in reality much higher. Migrant workers, there are up to 40 million migrant workers in Asia. 30% of the total migrants, world's total, are in Asia. Some startling examples. In Malaysia, in the manufacturing, construction, and agriculture sectors, approximately 30% of the workforce are migrants. In the Gulf countries, migrant workers make up a staggering 47% of the workforce in Saudi Arabia, 83% in Kuwait, 89% in the United Arab Emirates, and 94% in Qatar, which will be the host of the World Cup in 2022, where massive construction projects are taking place. In Asia, India tops the list of countries earning remittances from migrants at roughly $70 billion per year. Now, the reliance on migrant remittances is a key serious development issue for many of these countries, both in terms of their national economic development, but also political disenfranchisement. When we talk about forced and bonded labor, the ILO estimates approximately 11.7 million workers in Asia are either in forced labor or bonded labor, including debt bondage. And while we think of bonded labor as forced labor, such as indebted families working in brick kilns in Pakistan or India or Bangladesh, for example, debt bondage also exists for the millions of workers in the Gulf countries, most of which have taken out loans just to obtain their jobs. On the subject of child labor, while the ILO estimates in the past 15 years the number of child laborers in the world has fallen, there are still at least 215 million plus child laborers, half of whom work in what are designated as hazardous jobs. And the one area where child labor has actually grown during that time has been in domestic work. Children who are in households often hidden away from the rest of society. In the Asia-Pacific region, the ILO puts the number of child laborers between the ages of 5 and 14 at 122 million. Tens of millions of these children are not in school at all, which has huge implications for their future economic aspects and prospects and ability to take their place in society as citizens engaging in the democratic enterprise. Finally, on the informal economy, the ILO, from the ILO Asia Pacific office, quote, overall, the informal sector accounts for 60% of the workforce. The informal economy refers to all economic activities by workers that are, in law or in practice, not covered or insufficiently covered by formal employment arrangements. So what we would like to do with this panel today with our distinguished panelists, Brother Ramachandra Khuntia from the Building Woodworkers International Union, a national trade union leader in India, Sister Manali Shah, Vice President of the Self-Employed Women's Association here in India, and Brother Fred Redmond, who is the Vice President of the United Steelworkers of America. What we'd like to do is get perspectives on some of these aspects of the issues facing these workers and what their role is not only in growing economic development, but also democratic development in countries not only in Asia, but by extension around the world. So first, I would actually like to invite Brother Khuntia to come to the podium. Brother Khuntia is a trade unionist and labor rights advocate from the Indian National Congress who served in the Rajya Sabha for 2 years, 2 terms, excuse me. Apart from being the vice president for the Building and Woodworkers International Global Federation in the Asia Pacific, he's also president of the Indian National Building Construction, Forest, and Woodworkers Federation, very long name, encompasses a lot of workers, and vice president of the Indian National Trade Union Congress, one of the largest central trade unions in India. Over the years, Brother Khuntia has launched a movement to bring about comprehensive legislation for building construction workers and a campaign at the state and national level for comprehensive labor legislation for unorganized agricultural and other workers who were not covered under any social security laws. So, Brother Khuntia, if you could join us here at the podium.
Good morning to everybody, distinguished leaders on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. I am very much happy and obliged that the Solidarity Center with cooperation of ADN and Social Center organized such conference here to discuss about democratic right and especially in relation to the workers and trade union right. At the outset, before Sister Manali Shah is here, I think she will discuss about the street vendors, women workers and other workers who are working in informal sector. I will deal with mostly the migrant worker, construction worker, bonded worker and child labor. While expressing my gratitude to discuss about the democratic right of marginal workers, but we all know labor is a word, such a word, it creates sensation whenever you go. Nobody is concerned about when you discuss about the employer, society, economic, everything. But the moment you utter the word of labor, everybody is very much sensitive as if it is creating the bottleneck for the development of this country, society, reducing the growth rate, reducing the development of the country, and it is an impact on the national economy without thinking that labor is the main component for the development of the society and build the economic of the country. What we are talking about, the migrant labor and construction workers, contract labor and child labor, bonded labor. They are the most oppressed class in the society. If you look to this slide, the migrant labor, the percentage of the migrant labor who are going from India to other countries has been completely changed. The number which was mostly from South India like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, now the real major percentage has already gone to UP and Bihar. And this number, officially it is around 7.7 million, but non-officially 3 times more, maybe 20 millions in a year. And these migrant laborers who are going outside the country, always subject to exploitation, and we all know in GCC countries, there is no respect for labor rights, no respect of trade unions, and they don't have the trade union rights. On the other hand, I myself had been to Qatar as a part of the delegation, Qatar, Dubai, and other countries also. The situation of that country is very, very bad. And I can just give you one example. People are dying in Indian embassy said 260 people died in Indian workers. In Nepal, the number is 230. Around 30 people in Nepal died in accident. 60 people in India died in accident. But all other people died their natural death by 2 diseases. One is heart disease, another is kidney disease. And when I inquire about the reason, you will be sorry to know the Nepal and Indian worker who was engaged by small contractors for the painting and other work in the house do not have the facilities to go to the toilet. And the reason behind, they are not allowed to go to the toilet, neither they will be allowed to use the toilet of the mosque because they are not Muslims. So from the morning to the night, they will not drink anything because that will keep them not to go to the toilet, and can take the water in the dead of the night at 10 or 11 when they will come back to their house, as a result of which they are suffered by the kidney disease and dying natural death, no compensation, no claim, and Nepal, India government said this is a natural death. About heart disease, because all you know, the kafala system, which is very much prevalent in these countries, where the passport, visa, permit to work, everything will be taken by the unscrupulous contractor and agent. When anybody's wife in sick died or son relation died also, he is not allowed to come to India, not allowed to send the money, and he will be tortured, compelled to work for 14 hours, and ultimately being heart stress, if he died, he is dying in heart disease, no compensation, and he is not able to get any benefit. So this is the state of affairs. And as you all know, the kafala system also, that prevailing legal environment in the GCC countries are key limiting factors in realizing the rights of the migrant labor. Kafala system, the worker sponsorship is a big challenge which contribute to the exploitation of migrant worker as it limit the mobility of migrant worker. You can see this is in this slide, in the recruitment violation, paid lower wages that native workers performing similar job, dangerous and unsafe working condition, poor, unhealthy, unhygienic living condition. These undocumented migrants have the little access to the social security. Irregular migrant workers live with constant fear of deportation, no political trade union rights, discrimination and exploitation, labor rights, contract violation, sexual abuse, and one more important factor. You are talking about 4 million of workers from the Asia, but you know, I think the number could be much more, because from India or South Asia, those who are going there, They are not only trade union human rights they are not getting, they are also losing their political rights, not getting the opportunity to vote in their respective country, either for municipal or for assembly or for the parliament. So also in case of India, those who are going out, if you look to the Indian system, in India we have around 40 millions of interstate migrant workers moving every day from one state to other state for getting employment inside the India. And even a worker belonging to my state, Orissa, coming to Delhi from Bihar or Orissa, working in Delhi, keeping them in a camp, they don't have right to go away. They don't have right to go back to Orissa also for voting power. So this is democracy. That means in India, 40 millions of interstate migrant workers and around 3 millions of workers who have gone outside, 30 millions of workers who have gone out, they are not able to exercise their ideal franchise to vote in their country for electing their leaders. Sometimes in India also, we have taken a decision to give the power to NRI. NRI means NRI businessmen. Because the NRI conference in Delhi, which was being held in last year here, the trade unions working in other countries were not allowed to participate. After we went to the court only ordered that the trade unions should be allowed. I think Dr. Rajiv Sharma is a witness. He was also party to the case. And then only in an NRI conference they were allowed. That means NRI to get the voting right is not being extended to the migrant worker. Either they are working in Middle East, Malaysia, Singapore, Bangkok, or they are working inside the country from one state to other. Even those who are working inside the country as interstate migrant labor, they don't even access to education. They don't have access to get the food security facilities, 1 rupees rice facilities, and other facilities which are being given in our country. Nevertheless, we in India, we have the legislation. In India alone, we have a legislation for Interstate Migrant Act 1979. We have a legislation, unique legislation, Contract Labor Act 1970, and these two are nowhere in the world, no country has these two acts. And in addition to that also, Mahatma Gandhi National Employment Guarantee Scheme, which is giving employment to 50 millions of people, 100 days guarantee employment, that has also been legislated in our country. But in spite of the fact, we have the legislation to check the legislation of contract labor. We have a legislation to check the exploitation of interstate migrant labor. We have the bilateral agreement with some of the GCC countries for the protection of the security of the migrant labor in their respective country. But actually, these benefits are not, these migrant laborers are not getting, and they are being exploited. In many cases, thousands of workers in GCC countries are traveling without document. Some of them are jailed. Some of them against false cases has also been filed. And BWI, as the Building Woodworkers International, is very much expressing concern. We are also trying to give them preliminary training, creating awareness at the time when they are leaving the country and at the time when they are reaching in their destination. And we have also decided as the BWI organization, as there is no scope for trade union activities in Qatar, we have taken two important decisions. One is to take the membership of the migrant labor. I myself, Dr. Rajiv Sharma and Ambed, we have visited around 28 countries, 28 camps with 16 delegates from various countries. And we have interacted with them, and we have decided we will take the membership of Building and Woodworkers International directly, as there is no scope for creating a registered trade union, and Building and Woodworkers International, with the support of Solidarity Center, with the support of other international community, we are trying to give them the benefit and pressure upon the government to change the kafla rules, and also to extend the benefit of trade union and workers' rights in Qatar and other countries. BWI also has taken a firm stand that if they do not give the minimum facilities also, will not allow them to complete the construction work, the stadium which is they are constructing for the football tournament. And we have given a slogan and so the red card, no minimum facilities if not given to the workers, will not allow the international football tournament FIFA to happen there. So that's a very firm stand we have taken, and we have tried to develop understanding policy legal framework involving the embassies of each of the countries, like mostly India, Nepal, Philippines, and Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and also information regarding the materials in local language, and also forming the workers group helpline, and BWI mission also regularly visiting Qatar and other countries to see the programs and the problems of the migrant labor. On the other hand, regarding construction workers, with much difficulties, India has a building and other construction workers legislation in 1996, where there is a provision of collecting of 1% cess, and this cess will be utilized for the social security of the construction worker. We have, as agent today in India, around 24,000 crores. Of course, you have to multiply the million, I cannot just exactly say, but it's a huge money having the welfare board in all the states, but still that is also not working very well because they are collecting the money but not giving the benefit to the workers. On the other hand, this year sample survey report says they have rehabilitated around 660 bonded labor. That means, in spite of the fact that we have a very strong legislation for the abolition of the bonded labor, still bonded labor exists in India. And on the other hand, about child labor, although ILO report, India government report says we have the reduction of child labor is there, BWI is also working very hard in the child labor field, but still child labor exists. In short, I can say, in spite of the legislations available in our country, in spite of the national centers, trade unions working hard, in India and South Asia, still there is a problem of protecting human rights and trade union rights and democratic rights also. And as I have said, this marginalized worker